Why is Arizona so empty? We could drive for hours and see nothing but sand, cacti, and endless highways glistening under the desert sun. So why are there so few inhabitants in such a vast expanse of land? Let's discover the 15 reasons, each one affecting its population vacuum more than the previous one. Why people don't live in Arizona. Reason 15, the heat is beyond brutal. Arizona's #1 challenge is also its most famous, the scorching heat. Summers in the state are not just hot, they are unforgiving. Phoenix, the capital, frequently records temperatures above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and days above 115 degrees Fahrenheit are not rare. In 2023, Phoenix even experienced a streak of 31 consecutive days with highs over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, breaking records and pushing residents to their physical and mental limits. Heat at this level isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Heat stroke, dehydration, and heat exhaustion are constant risks. Air conditioning becomes less of a luxury and more of a survival tool. Without it, indoor temperatures can skyrocket to unsafe levels in a matter of hours. Energy bills soar as a result, and the electrical grid struggles to keep up with demand. Outdoor activities that many Americans take for granted, like walking the dog, jogging, or playing sports, become almost impossible during the day. Even vehicles suffer, with overheated engines and tire blowouts being common problems. For visitors, the heat may be a passing inconvenience, but for full-time residents, it dictates nearly every aspect of life, from work schedules to clothing choices. Living in Arizona means learning to navigate a furnace-like climate that never really lets up. Reason 14, water scarcity and restrictions. The desert beauty of Arizona comes at a steep cost, a severe lack of water. The state depends heavily on the Colorado River, which has been shrinking due to droughts and overuse. In fact, the river system has been in crisis for years, and Arizona has faced mandatory cuts to its water allocation. For residents, this translates into water restrictions and ongoing concerns about long-term sustainability. Lawns are rare, not by choice, but by necessity. Xeriscaping using gravel, rocks, and drought-resistant plants instead of grass is the norm. Even with this adaptation, cities have had to impose limits on water usage, especially during the peak of summer when reservoirs are at their lowest. This water stress affects more than just households. Agriculture, which consumes a huge portion of the available water, has been forced to scale back in certain areas. Farmers growing crops like alfalfa or cotton face challenges that threaten their livelihoods. Urban expansion is another factor. As cities like Phoenix and Tucson grow, the demand for water outpaces what nature can supply. The idea of living in a state where water is a scarce and contested resource is enough to make many people think twice about calling Arizona home. Without a reliable supply, survival becomes precarious and the future looks uncertain. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe and leave your like to discover hidden stories, facts, and curiosities about each US state that no one else tells. Reason 13, dust storms and air quality problems. One of the most startling experiences in Arizona is the arrival of a dust storm, locally called a habub. These massive walls of dust can rise thousands of feet into the sky and stretch for miles, swallowing everything in their path. Within minutes, daylight turns into a choking brown haze, and visibility drops to almost zero. For drivers, this is not just frightening but deadly, as multi-car accidents are a common consequence. Dust storms are not isolated incidents. They occur regularly during the summer monsoon season, and they leave behind more than just a layer of dirt on cars and homes. The fine particles that fill the air during these storms can worsen respiratory conditions like asthma and bronchitis. Long-term exposure to poor air quality is a growing health concern, especially in cities where pollution from vehicles and industry adds another layer of risk. In Phoenix, air quality often falls into the unhealthy category during summer months. Children, the elderly, and people with pre-existing health conditions are advised to stay indoors, but even healthy adults feel the strain. The combination of heat and poor air can make simple outdoor chores overwhelming. For people seeking clean, breathable air and a safe environment, Arizona's dust storms and pollution issues create a harsh reality that many simply aren't willing to tolerate. Reason 12, dangerous wildlife. Arizona's desert ecosystems are home to creatures that, while fascinating, make daily life more challenging and occasionally terrifying. The state has more rattlesnake species than almost any other place in the United States. Encounters are common in both rural and suburban areas. A simple hike or even stepping into a backyard can bring you face to face with one of these venomous reptiles. But snakes are only the beginning. Scorpions, particularly the bark scorpion, are widespread. Their stings can be excruciating and, in rare cases, life-threatening, especially for children or pets. Black widow and brown recluse spiders also inhabit the region, adding to the list of potentially dangerous household intruders. Then there are larger animals. Coyotes roam even near city suburbs, often preying on pets left outdoors. Mountain lions occasionally wander into neighborhoods bordering desert areas. Even birds like hawks and owls can pose risks to small pets. Living in Arizona means taking precautions that residents in many other states never have to consider. Checking shoes for scorpions, avoiding tall grass at night, or keeping a close eye on pets. For many, the presence of dangerous wildlife feels like a constant threat, making Arizona more intimidating than inviting. Reason 11. Flash flooding and monsoon chaos. It might sound contradictory that a desert state could struggle with flooding, but Arizona proves how unpredictable nature can be. The summer monsoon season brings sudden, violent thunderstorms that drop large amounts of rain in a short time. Because the desert soil doesn't absorb water well, this leads to flash floods that can sweep through neighborhoods, wash out roads, and trap vehicles within minutes. Cities like Phoenix and Tucson have entire warning systems dedicated to flash floods. Drivers are constantly reminded not to enter flooded roads with the slogan, "Turn around, don't drown." Yet every year, rescues are necessary and fatalities occur. For residents, these floods create property damage, disrupt daily commutes, and heighten insurance costs. Flooding also pairs with powerful winds, lightning strikes, and hailstorms, which can destroy roofs, break windows, and damage vehicles. The sheer unpredictability of monsoon weather adds another stressor to daily life. While some appreciate the dramatic change in scenery from bone-dry desert to sudden downpour, most find the risks outweigh the charm. The irony of Arizona's climate, drought most of the year, then destructive floods within hours, makes survival a balancing act. Residents never truly feel secure, as nature seems determined to test human endurance at every turn. Reason 10. Sky-high energy bills. Living in Arizona is like living in a giant oven for months on end, and that has a direct impact on your wallet. Air conditioning isn't optional here. It's survival. In cities like Phoenix or Tucson, households often run their cooling systems nearly non-stop from May through September, and even into October. According to energy consumption data, Arizona consistently ranks among the states with the highest electricity usage per household, largely because of air conditioning demands. This constant need for cooling translates into staggering energy bills. Many residents see monthly electric costs soar to $300 or more in the summer. For low-income families or retirees on fixed incomes, these expenses are crushing. And unlike northern states where you might get relief from heating bills during mild summers, Arizona offers no such break. On top of the cost, the state's power grid is under stress during extreme heat waves, leading to occasional outages. Imagine a summer afternoon when it's 115 degrees Fahrenheit outside and suddenly the electricity cuts out. Within an hour, indoor temperatures climb to dangerous levels. It's not just uncomfortable, it's life-threatening. In short, Arizona's relentless climate forces residents into a cycle of dependency on costly electricity. For many, the financial and physical toll of staying cool becomes a deal breaker. Reason 9. Lack of public transportation. If you're used to living in a city where buses, trains, or subways make life easier, Arizona can feel like stepping back in time. Public transportation is minimal, especially outside of Phoenix. While the Phoenix metropolitan area does have a light rail system, it's relatively small compared to other major U.S. cities. Tucson offers some bus service, but schedules and routes are limited, leaving many areas practically unreachable without a car. This dependence on cars shapes daily life. Commuting long distances across sprawling cities is the norm, with traffic congestion and long hours behind the wheel. Owning at least one vehicle per adult isn't just common, it's practically mandatory. For people without reliable transportation, accessing work, school, or even healthcare becomes a major hurdle. The issue doesn't stop at convenience, it extends to environmental and financial costs. More cars mean higher fuel consumption, heavier traffic, and greater air pollution. Residents spend more on gas and vehicle maintenance compared to people in more transit-friendly states. For younger adults, students, or anyone used to walkable, transit-rich cities, Arizona's limited options feel isolating. The car-centered culture is not only inconvenient, but also alienating, discouraging many from making the state a long-term home. Reason 8. state, intense sun exposure, and health risks. Arizona's near-constant sunshine sounds appealing at first. Tourists love the idea of cloudless skies and endless vitamin D, but the reality of living under that much direct sunlight comes with serious health risks. The state has some of the highest rates of skin cancer in the nation, including melanoma, the most dangerous form. Dermatologists in Arizona warn residents to apply sunscreen daily, even when indoors near windows, because the UV index is so extreme. Prolonged exposure isn't just about skin cancer. Sunburn, premature aging, heat exhaustion, and dehydration are everyday risks. Walking to the store in the middle of July can leave someone red-faced and drained even after just a few minutes outside. For kids who love to play outdoors, or for workers in construction, landscaping, and delivery services, the sun isn't just an inconvenience, it's an occupational hazard. The brightness also takes a toll on daily comfort. Driving becomes difficult without sunglasses, and many vehicles require tinted windows just to make commutes bearable. Houses need specialized window coverings, UV blocking glass, or even additional insulation to combat solar exposure. In states with more balanced climates, sunshine feels like a gift. In Arizona, it becomes a constant threat, reminding residents that the very environment around them is working against their health. Reason 7. Expensive housing in growing cities. You might assume that a desert state with wide open spaces would have affordable housing, but that's not the case in Arizona's booming metropolitan areas. Phoenix in particular has experienced skyrocketing home prices and rent in the past decade. Fueled by population growth, limited water resources, and urban sprawl, the cost of housing has risen dramatically, making it harder for locals to keep up. Between 2020 and 2022, Phoenix was one of the top U.S. cities for rising home prices, with some neighborhoods seeing jumps of more than 30% in just a couple of years. Rents followed the same trend, pushing many middle-class families to the brink. This housing crunch means that what might once have been considered an affordable alternative to states like California is now slipping out of reach. The irony is striking. Arizona has vast land, but limited livable areas thanks to water shortages, heat, and infrastructure limits. Demand concentrates in a few cities, driving up prices. For families hoping to settle down, these costs add another layer of stress. What's the point of moving to Arizona for wide open spaces if the only practical places to live are expensive and overcrowded? The dream of affordable desert living has turned into a financial obstacle course that discourages many from staying long-term. Reason 6. Allergy and health challenges from desert plants. When people think of allergies, they often imagine states filled with dense forests or grassy meadows, but Arizona is surprisingly tough on allergy sufferers. The desert is home to plants like ragweed and mesquite that release high amounts of pollen, particularly in spring and early summer. In cities like Phoenix, landscaping with non-native species has worsened the issue, as imported plants like olive and mulberry trees add even more allergens to the mix. The result is that seasonal allergies hit hard. Sneezing, itchy eyes, congestion, and asthma flare-ups are common complaints. Health studies frequently rank Phoenix among the worst cities in the country for people with respiratory issues. Air quality problems from dust storms and pollution only make matters worse, compounding the misery for sensitive individuals. Hospitals and clinics in the state see spikes in allergy-related visits every year during peak pollen seasons. Families with children often find themselves constantly managing symptoms, limiting outdoor activities, and relying on medications. For many, it feels ironic that moving to a dry desert climate doesn't solve health problems, but creates new ones. Allergies in Arizona aren't just a minor annoyance, they're a recurring health battle that lowers quality of life. For those already struggling with respiratory conditions, the desert environment can be the deciding factor against living here permanently. Before moving on to the last 5, you can subscribe to the channel and leave your like, so you'll become a more cultured person and learn facts about your country that few people know, even those who live there. Reason 5. Limited job diversity outside key sectors. Arizona's job market has grown in recent years, but it still lacks the diversity you find in other states. Outside of sectors like healthcare, construction, hospitality, and a few tech hubs in Phoenix, opportunities are limited. Manufacturing is not as strong here as in the Midwest, and financial services don't compare to hubs like New York or Chicago. For professionals in specialized industries, the options narrow quickly. Want to work in media, fashion, or international traditional business, Arizona probably won't give you the opportunities you're looking for. Even the tech growth in Phoenix and Tempe, while notable, is still overshadowed by larger hubs like Austin or San Francisco. This limitation impacts families too. Many people relocate for one job, but find it hard for a spouse or partner to find equivalent work. That creates an imbalance where one breadwinner thrives while the other struggles. For young graduates, the lack of career mobility often forces them to leave for other states that offer clearer paths for advancement. The result is a job market that feels like a half-built puzzle, strong in a few areas but with large missing pieces. For many, Arizona's lack of career variety makes it more of a temporary stop than a permanent home. Reason 4. Traffic and sprawl issues. Arizona cities, especially Phoenix, are known for their sprawling design. Unlike compact urban centers where you can walk from one neighborhood to another, Arizona's metropolitan areas spread out across vast distances. This means long commutes, car dependency, and seemingly endless stretches of suburban development. The sprawl leads directly to traffic problems. Highways like I-10 and Loop 101 often clog during rush hours, stretching commutes into exhausting daily routines. The lack of extensive public transit only makes the issue worse. For many residents, it feels like their lives revolve around driving, from home to work, from work to the store, and then back again, with little variation. Beyond the inconvenience, sprawl has environmental costs. More development means more heat absorption from concrete, amplifying the already extreme urban heat island effect. It also strains infrastructure, as cities must extend utilities, emergency services, and road maintenance across massive areas. The culture of sprawl is discouraging for those who prefer walkable neighborhoods or vibrant city centers. Instead of energy-efficient, compact communities, Arizona offers endless highways and subdivisions. Over time, this car-centric lifestyle wears people down, making the idea of living elsewhere increasingly attractive. Reason 3. Education challenges and underfunded schools. For families with children, Arizona's education system is a constant concern. The state consistently ranks near the bottom in national education funding per student. Class sizes are larger, teacher pay is lower, and resources are stretched thin. Parents often find themselves supplementing with private tutoring, extracurricular programs, or even private schooling just to ensure their kids receive competitive opportunities. The teacher shortage compounds the issue. Many educators leave for neighboring states with higher salaries and better support, leaving Arizona schools scrambling to fill positions. This instability impacts the quality of education, especially in rural or lower income communities where turnover is highest. Standardized test scores and graduation rates reflect these struggles. While there are standout schools and districts, the overall system leaves much to be desired. For professionals considering relocation, the quality of education is often a deal breaker, especially if they have young children. The irony is that Arizona markets itself as a family-friendly destination with affordable living and sunny weather, yet its education challenges undermine that appeal. Parents who want the best for their children often view leaving Arizona not as an option but as a necessity. Reason 2. Limited cultural and entertainment options. Arizona certainly has natural wonders, but when it comes to cultural and entertainment variety, it often falls short compared to larger metropolitan areas in other states. Yes, Phoenix and Tucson have museums, concert venues, and sports teams, but the range and scale are limited. Major touring acts often skip smaller Arizona venues in favor of Los Angeles, Las Vegas, or Denver. For residents used to vibrant nightlife, international cuisine, or a wide variety of cultural events, Arizona can feel monotonous. Outside of college towns like Tempe, nightlife is modest, with fewer clubs or entertainment districts compared to coastal cities. Dining options, while improving, still lag behind major food hubs in diversity and innovation. This lack of cultural depth also impacts younger populations. Many young adults, after finishing school, leave for cities with more opportunities to socialize, network, and explore. The limited range of activities beyond outdoor recreation leaves some feeling stuck in a repetitive cycle of malls, chain restaurants, and desert hikes. Over time, the absence of cultural variety becomes a major drawback, particularly for those who thrive on dynamic, cosmopolitan lifestyles. Arizona's appeal as a tourist destination doesn't always translate into satisfaction for long-term residents seeking more excitement. Reason 1. Extreme lifestyle limitations. Finally, one of the most overlooked reasons nobody truly settles in Arizona long term is the lifestyle limitation created by its environment. The extreme heat dictates daily routines. Outdoor exercise is only safe early in the morning or late at night. Kids spend much of their summer indoors, and outdoor hobbies like gardening or cycling become seasonal at best. Travel also becomes challenging. A road trip across Arizona in midsummer requires careful planning to avoid heat-related breakdowns. Even simple errands must be timed around the heat of the day, turning everyday life into a logistical exercise. Visitors often marvel at the desert's beauty, but residents know it comes at the cost of personal freedom. Then there's the sense of isolation. With vast stretches of desert between cities, spontaneous weekend getaways aren't as easy as in other states. Unlike the East Coast, where multiple states and cities are within a few hours' drive, Arizona's geography limits quick escapes. These restrictions chip away at quality of life. Over time, the constant adjustments to survive the climate, coupled with limited cultural outlets and infrastructure, make many people realize that Arizona isn't built for long-term comfort. It's a place of beauty, yes, but also of sacrifice. A combination too tough for most to embrace permanently. So why does nobody truly live in Arizona? The answer is that while the state dazzles visitors with dramatic landscapes and sunshine, daily life tells a harsher story. From unbearable heat and scarce water to costly living and lifestyle restrictions, Arizona demands more from its residents than most places in America. For every stunning sunset, there's a dust storm. For every cactus-lined hiking trail, there's a triple-digit electric bill. The reasons we've explored, 15 in total, show that Arizona is a paradox, breathtaking to visit but punishing to inhabit. It's a reminder that beauty and livability don't always go hand in hand, and perhaps that's why so much of Arizona's land remains empty, with its desert stretching endlessly, silently warning that this is nature's domain first and humanity's second. Now that you know all this, would you live in Arizona, or would you prefer another state? We would love to read your opinion in the comments and see if we agree. Although many of us will agree after watching the video I'm leaving on the screen, take advantage of the opportunity to become a wise and culturally rich person by watching these videos. But first, be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your like so you don't miss out on anything that almost no one dares to reveal about the states of the United States.